Okay.
You are
So in
now
the
unmuted.
so is it visible to all of you? Is it visible? Okay. So in the last
Yes.
lecture we have discussed about memories which are used in the PLC. We are using basically RAM, ROM. Okay. And we have discussed the various types of read-only memory as well as random access memory. Now in today's lecture we will discuss about the input image table. This is the special thing that can be used in case of your PLC, okay, which will make it different from your normal personal computer. So basically what happened in this case, we will just scan all the input. In the scan cycle we have already discussed that in the scan cycle what you are going to do, we will scan all the inputs, then updates the status of input in the input image table. So basically what is input image table? Okay, so input image table is a portion of the processor memory. Okay, so basically what is input image table? It is the portion of processor memory where the status of input devices, whether open or closed, is stored. Means whether the device is on or the device is off, it is going to be stored. That is called as the input image table. So I have number of inputs. That may be a switch, that may be a temperature sensor, that may be a pressure sensor, that may be a limit switch. Okay, so we have n number of inputs which are connected to your machines. Now what happened, over the period of time some inputs may get activated, some inputs may get deactivated, or some inputs are on and some inputs are off. So what is the current status of those inputs is going to be checked by the processor during the input scan. Okay, and if the device is on, then the particular memory bit which is assigned to that input is written as 1. ओके, जर एखादं डिव्हाइस ऑन असेल तर त्या डिव्हाइस करता आपण जी मेमरी बीट असाइन केलेली आहे त्या डिव्हाइस त्या मेमरी बीटच्या लोकेशनला 1 केलं जाईल. अँड इफ द डिव्हाइस इज ऑफ, then that particular memory bit is going to be 0. So every single input terminal of the input module is assigned a particular location or address in a portion of memory called as the input image table. So basically what is input image table? Input image table is a location, memory location assigned to the particular single input. Okay, we have multiple inputs. If I have the 8 input modules, then there are 8 memory location for discrete. Okay, so if I have the 8 discrete input module, then I have 8 memory location which are assigned for the particular inputs. So in that memory location the status of that particular input device is going to be updated. This location is dedicated solely to the task of keeping track of the latest condition of the input terminal. Okay, so what is going to be do, it will take what is the current status, what is the latest status of that particular input, whether it is on or whether it is off. If a particular input has 220 volt fed to it, due to closing of the input devices connected to it, a binary 1 is stored in the memory location allocated to the particular input module. Now if a particular input switch is going to be activated and if it is connected to the 220 volt supply. Okay, so a simple example, I have a fan and I have switch to control that fan. If I am going to close the switch, what happen, a 220 volt supply is connected to the fan. So the what is the status of that switch? Now the status of the switch is on means 1. Okay, so that particular memory location which is assigned to that input switch is written as 1 if there is no voltage at the input terminal. Okay, and in second case, if switch is off, switch off means what, voltage is not applied to the device. Okay, so at that time the binary 0 is stored in the particular memory location. Okay, so what you are going to do, we are going to use a single bit to check the status of the discrete input. Okay, so as I am going to use the discrete input here, so discrete input has only two states. This input may be on or input may be off. Say consider the status of your switch. In case of the switch, it has only two stable state, either the switch is on or the switch is off. Okay, so I can store the status of the input device with the help of only one single digit, binary digit. Okay, one I can use for on position, and 0 I can use for off position. In case of the input module is analog, but all the inputs are not digital. Some inputs may be analog, and if the input is analog, then we cannot use a single bit to store that status of that input. So in that case, I can use 8 bit or 16 bit depending on the PLC for storing the analog signal, whether the analog signal is on or off, because analog signal does not have the discrete state. They will change with respect to time. For each and every instant of the time, the status of that input signal will different. And to represent the status of the input signal, a single bit is not sufficient. So in that case, we are going to use 8 bit or 16 bit. The memory location in the input image table that stores the image of the input devices. So what is the function of input image table? So input image table will store the image of the input devices. That is why it is named as input image table. The image of the status of input devices is created in the input image table before it goes to the processor. Okay, so input image table will store the status of input devices. Okay, before the processor start executing the user program, as the status of the input devices are the deciding factor in the execution of the program, because your program will totally depend on the status of input devices. Okay, what is my program? My program is nothing but a logical sequence of the activities to be performed. Okay, so basically what I am going to do, I will arrange the task, I will arrange the instructions in such a manner that if particular input is available, then you have to do that. If this input is available, then you have to do that. If this input is not available, you have to do that. Means my program will totally depends on what status of input. So first what I am going to do, I will scan all the inputs, okay, and just update the input image table, and then my actual execution of the program will take place in the second cycle. Okay, so in the second stage of the scan cycle. Now when your program is going to be executed, after execution, as you are written, you scan all the inputs, you have updated the input image table, the next stage is what? The next stage is my execution of the program. In execution of the program, if switch 1 is closed, then the device should be on. If switch 1 is open, then the device should be off. Or if switch 1 is closed, then the timer should start or the counter should start. Okay, so such type of program may be there. And after execution of the program, what is the thing is going to be happen? So when the program is going to be executed, at that time the processor will update the output image table. Similar to the input image table, PLC has the output image table. Now what is the output image table? So output image table is another portion of the processor memory where each output terminal of the output module is assigned a particular memory location. Okay, so whatever you are going to use in the input image table, in the same manner there is a memory location for each and every output. Okay, and that particular memory location is dedicated to a particular output device. If I have the 4 output devices, then I have 4 memory location. Okay, this is for discrete. And if it is analog, then for analog, either you are going to use 8 bit or 16 bit. But as most of the output devices are digital output devices, so most of the PLCs come with the digital outputs. When the processor executes the user program, a particular output is required to energize. A binary one is stored in the memory location allocated to the particular output. So what happens when my processor is going to execute the program, when my processor will just execute the program or run the program, at that time, say as per the input and the program conditions, your particular output is on or it may be off. Okay, so if my particular output is on means what? It is to be energized. Energized means what? I need to on that. On means 1. So particularly binary 1 is going to be stored into the memory location which is allocated to the particular output. Okay, so thus when the user program execution is complete, the output image table updating is also complete. So when my program is going to be executed, when my complete program first line to last line, okay, so the last line of the program will execute it. At that time, the updating of the output image table is also complete. See, if my program has 10 lines, so when the 10th line of the program is going to be executed, at that time my output image table is also completely updated. Now all the output which are binary one stored, in their memory locations are energized. Okay, so what is going to be happen now after the program execution will done, all the outputs, okay, with binary one stored in their memory location, with stored in their respective memory locations are energized simultaneously. Okay, so here the word is very important. How they are going to be energized? All the outputs are energized simultaneously, means at the same time all the outputs are going to be energized after the last instruction of the program is executed. And when all these outputs are energized, these outputs are energized after the last instruction of that particular program is going to be executed. This period of the processor cycle which outputs are energized is called as the output scan. Okay, so the name of this period in which my outputs are going to be energized, this period is called as the process output scan cycle. Okay, so basically here remember two things. In output image table, the output image table is updated during the program execution, means step number 2. Okay, so output image table is updated during the program execution phase, means your step number 2, and all the outputs are energized or de-energized based on what is going to be stored at their particular memory location is going to be done in step number 3, that is the output scan. Okay, so actual physical energization and de-energization of the output devices is going to be done into the step number 3, that is output scan. It may be noted that the processor can write to and also read from the output image table. Okay, so what is going to be happen here? I can write to the output image table, as well as I can read the status of the particular output from the output image table. So now why? Sometimes what happen if I'm going to energize a particular device, the particular output, on the output of that particular device some other input is also going to be uh, dependent. Okay, so my second output may depend on the first output, so in that case I need to read from the output image table also. So it might be possible that in a program there may be my second output which is dependent on the first output, so I have to read from the output image table what is the status of the first output, okay, whether it is on or off. Okay, say example, माझी एक एक्झाम्पल असेल त्यामध्ये काय आहे की मोटर, दोन मोटर्स आहेत, मोटर नंबर 1 आणि मोटर नंबर 2. मोटर नंबर 1 फॉरवर्ड मध्ये रोटेट होते आणि मोटर नंबर 2 रिव्हर्स मध्ये रोटेट होते. सो इन दॅट केस व्हॉट आय एम गोइंग टू डू, काय करणार आहे आपण त्या केसमध्ये, जर मोटर नंबर 1 बंद असेल तरच मोटर नंबर 2 स्टार्ट व्हायला पाहिजे. when my motor number 1 is stopped, then the motor number 2 will start. So in that case what I have to do, my second output is depend on the first output. So for that purpose I need to read the status of the output. I need to read the status of the output from the output image table. Okay, so both functions are done by the processor. Processor will write to the output image table, as well as processor will read from the output image table. However, the processor only reads from the input image table. But if you are going to take the case of your input image table, in case of input image table, processor does not write to the input image table. It will only read from the input image table. This is the major difference between input image table and output image table. Output image table, okay, can be used for reading as well as writing the data by the processor. And in case of your input image table, processor can only read from the input image table. Okay, now next one is very important, that is the user program memory, where actual PLC program is going to be stored. This is the portion of the processor memory which is used for storing the program in the form of coded instruction which represent the logic of functions to be carried out. Okay, so this is the actual memory, this is the actual portion of the memory where I'm going to store the my user program. Okay, in the form of code or in the form of instruction. What are the instructions over here? So if you are going to use the assembly level language, then the instruction may be move a comma like this one, add. But as I'm going to use a ladder logic, so in case of ladder logic I am not supposed to use those instructions. I am going to use my simple instruction, the graphical instructions. I am going to draw a ladder diagram with the help of some symbols. The ladder diagram is the language of symbol, in which I am going to use the output devices. The output may be represented by circle and input may be represented by NO contact and NC contact. These are called as XIC and XIO. that we are going to discuss later on when you are going to discuss the actual programming of your PLC. Okay, so this type of things, and this is called as the power rung. Okay, sorry, power rail. These vertical lines, whatever the vertical lines you are going to observe over here, this pink color vertical line that you are going to observe over here, these are called as the power rail. Okay, so POWR. Okay, and that horizontal lines are called as the rung. Okay, so in between these there are rungs, R U N G. So these are the rung. Okay, so as I'm going to draw a multiple things over in the ladder diagram. So this is my NO, then that might be my NC contact, which is going to close the output when that contact is going to be open, like this one. Okay, so as it has the multiple things like this one, okay, dash 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 dash. So it looks like a ladder. Okay, the shape of this is look like a ladder. That's why it is called as the ladder diagram. So basically, ladder diagram has two components. One is two vertical lines. One line represent phase and second line represent neutral, or one line represent positive, second line represent the negative. So these are called as power rail. Okay, so these are called as power rail, and in between these two vertical lines there are n number of horizontal lines based that depends on your size of program and the complexity of the program. Those horizontal line must consist of at least one input and one output device, or one input and one coil. Okay, so these are called as the rungs. Okay, so it has n number of rungs. So when you are going to construct this particular thing is called as the ladder diagram. Okay, so this is the code, this is the program, this is the instructions which I am going to store into the memory of my PLC. The programming is done through a keyboard and program can be seen on video display unit. So whatever the programming is there, this can be done on the screen with the help of keyboard and with the help of mouse over there. As the instructions are entered through the keyboard, they are automatically stored in a sequential location within the user program memory. So this is our again important one. When I'm going to enter the instructions, I'm going to enter the instruction with the help of keyboard or with the help of mouse. So these instructions are automatically stored one by one. So first instruction, then second instruction, then third instruction. So they are going to be arranged in the sequential manner within the user program memory. The total number of instructions can be range from dozens or so for controlling simple machine to several hundreds for controlling the complex machine processes. Depending on the complexity of your process, the number of instructions may be 1, 2, 3, 4 to hundreds or thousands of instructions also. Okay, central processing units execute. What is the work of the central processing unit? The central processing unit execute user program instructions step by step. Here remember, my central processing unit, whatever the computer, whatever the PLC, whatever the cell phone, whatever you are going to use, your program is always executed step by step unless and until there is jump instruction. Okay, so जंप इन्स्ट्रक्शन मध्ये पण तो स्टेप बाय स्टेपच होतो, फक्त जंप केल्यानंतर ती इन्स्ट्रक्शन एक्झिक्यूट झाली की तो लूपच्या बाहेर पडून परत येतो. ओके, सो बेसिकली द सेंट्रल प्रोसेसिंग युनिट एक्झिक्यूट the user program instruction step by step. First instruction, then second, then third, then fourth, then like this one. During execution, if so when the execution is going on, so during execution, if the instruction execution calls for a change at any of the output image table location, it immediately update the output image table. So when my program is going to be executed, माझा program जेव्हा execute होते त्यामध्ये जर पर्टिक्युलर रंग, आता फर्स्ट रंग एक्झिक्युशन चालू आहे, फर्स्ट रंगचं एक्झिक्युशन होताना हे आउटपुटची व्हॅल्यू चेंज होते. सपोज इट इज अ क्यू, सो the memory location related to this queue is going to be updated as 1. Okay, so for each and every memory location, as it is going to be executed by step in this manner, so that particular output image table for that particular output is going to be updated. Okay, so that may be 1 or that may be 0. The CPU executes the sequential instructions by taking into account the output condition. Since this often affects the later instruction in the program. So what is that done by the CPU? My CPU will execute the subsequent instruction. CPU क्या करतो? It will execute the subsequent by taking into account the output condition. It will also check the output condition whether that particular first output is used in the second instructions or is in the later instructions, and if that later instructions require the status of my particular output, then it will also get use that particular output status. Okay, thus it thus becomes clear that the output image tables has two functions. First function is to receive information from CPU and pass it to the output module. So my output image table will perform two functions. What are these functions? First function is what? It will receive the information from the CPU and pass it to the output module. Okay, and what is the second function? The second function is to pass the information back to CPU when any instructions call for the state change of a particular output for its execution. Okay, so basically during the first function, what it will do? During the first function, it will receive the information from CPU. पहिल्या केसमध्ये काय करतो की आउटपुट इमेज टेबल जो आहे तो सीपीयू कडनं इन्फॉर्मेशन घेतो आणि आउटपुट मॉड्यूलला पास करतो. आणि सेकंड केसमध्ये काय, सीपीयू ला तो इन्फॉर्मेशन देतो. इट विल टेक द इन्फॉर्मेशन फ्रॉम आउटपुट इमेज टेबल and give back to the CPU. On the other hand, input image table has only one function. Okay, to acquire the information from input module IO section and pass the information to CPU when the instruction execution call for that input information. Okay, so basically in case of input module, it has only one function. It will take the information from the IO module, input module, and this input information is passed to the CPU whenever the CPU demand for that particular instructions. The dual nature of the information flow for the output image table is shown by the arrow. Okay, now, as this is the user program memory, in the same manner, I have variable data memory also. What is that variable data memory that we are going to discuss now? Now, what happens when my program is going to be executed during the execution of the program? So, user program instructions can have time setting, counter setting, numerical comparison, less than, greater than, etc. These types of instructions will require storage of data like setting of the timer, counter, down counter, etc. So basically what happens when this is going to be happen, my data is need to be stored temporarily. What is the setting of that particular timer? What is the setting of the counter? Okay, this memory which keeps tracks of this variable data is called as the variable data memory. And for that purpose there is a special dedicated memory which will keep track of these variables, and that memory is called as the variable data memory. There are 5 types of numeric data that can be present in the variable data memory. So we have 5 types of data. Okay, 5 types of numerical data. These 5 types of numerical data can be present in the variable data memory. The first is what? Preset value of the timer. In case of the first, preset value of timer. This is the number of seconds for which the timer must remains energized. Okay, so what is this preset value of timer? For how many times or for how many seconds you want to maintain the timer in the energized states. That is called as the preset value of the timer. This is the number of seconds for which the timer must remain energized. Second, it's called as the instant value of the timer. What is the value of the timer at particular instant of time? This is the number of seconds that elapse after the timer is energized. Then third one is preset value of the counter. This is the number that the up counter must count for the starting number from which the down counter start counting down. Okay, so this is the preset value of counter. What is the preset value? From which value? Say I have started the counter from 2. So my counter will start counting from 2. If it is up counter, then it will start counting from 2, 3, 4. But if I have preset the value of counter as 0, so then it will start counting from 0. If I have preset the value is 10, so my counter will start counting after 10. Okay, in case of up counter, and in case of down counter, if I have set it to 10, then 10, 9, 8, 7, like this one, it is going to be started. So this is our preset value of counter. Then instant value of counter. This is the number of count recorded by the up counter or the number of count remaining for the down counter. Okay, So what is the exact value at that particular instant of time? That we are going to shown by the instant value. And next one is the value for physical variable in the control process. What is the value of that physical variable? My physical variable may be pressure, my physical variable may be temperature, my physical variable may be, okay, acceleration, speed. Okay, so this value can be temperature, pressure, flow, etc. Such a variable is obtained by making measurement with the help of a transducer. And if I want to measure that value of temperature, pressure, flow, then I have to use certain transducers. These transducers will convert my analog signal, okay, measures the analog signals and convert it into the corresponding analog output voltage. Okay, then this analog output voltage is converted with the help of ADC converter, analog to digital. Because my PLC or CPU does not understand the analog signal, so for that purpose I need to convert that analog signal into the digital signals. Okay, so this is going to be happen. So basically transducer is a device which will convert physical parameter into voltage or electrical signal. Okay, so remember transducer is a device which will convert physical parameter, temperature, pressure, flow, acceleration, velocity into electrical signal. That may be voltage or that may be current. Okay, so if it is a voltage, that may be 0 to 10 volt, 0, minus 10 to plus 10 volt. Okay, or it may be, if it is a current, that is maybe from 4 milliampere to 20 milliampere signals, like that. But as my PLC does not understand the analog signal, so for that purpose I need to convert my analog signal into the digital signal with the help of a ADC. The next is when the CPU is executing the instruction for which a certain data must be known, it fetches that data from the variable data memory. So when the CPU is executing the instruction for which the certain data must be known, okay, so when this thing is going to be happen, say I want to check whether the what is the particular count of that counter. Okay, so that count is not available in my program memory, so I have to, this count is available in the variable data memory, which instant value of the counter. So I will fetch that information from the instant value of the counter, okay, which is available in the variable data memory. Also, when CPU execute an instructions which produce numerical value, it is stored. So when during the execution of the program, sometimes CPU will produce the numerical value. Okay, so that value is also going to be stored into the variable data memory. This two-way flow of information is shown by the arrow in the figure. Okay, so now what are the programming devices? So for the PC we have different types of programming devices. PLC, the programming devices is the control console for the PLC. The PLC is operated in different modes like programming mode, run mode, test mode. So last time we have discussed these modes. So my PLC can be operated in the programming mode, my PLC can be operated in the run mode. Okay, actual operation is going to be happen in the run mode only and in test mode also. Though through the programming devices, and this can be done with the help of programming devices. It is through the programming devices that the program is enter into the PLC. So if I want to enter the program into the PLC memory, I need to use a programming device. Without programming device, it is not possible for me to put or to insert the program or enter the program into the PLC memory. Now, sometimes what I have to do, I need to edit certain parameters or troubleshoot the existing program in the PLC memory. Then in that case also the programming devices are used. Once the program has been entered into the PLC memory, if I have entered my program into the PLC memory, PLC is brought into the run mode. Okay, once your program is in the PLC memory, then you have to put into test mode, and then when your test mode is complete, then you have to put into the programming mode. Programming devices may be disconnected. It is not necessary for the programming device to be connected to the PLC to operate. Okay, so remember over here, programming devices are only used to put the program into the PLC. Once the PLC is programmed, you need to disconnect the PLC from the programming device and you can put it anywhere. Okay, just like mobile, we are using the charger for charging the battery of the mobile. Once the mobile battery is fully charged, cell phone battery is fully charged, you will disconnect the charger and take it and carry it anywhere. In the same manner, once my PLC is programmed, then I can just disconnect it from the programming devices and I can mount it anywhere. Okay, so PLC is basically a self system. Okay, it is not necessary for the programming device to be connected to the PLC to program to operate, but it can be used to monitor the PLC program while program is running. Okay, as it is not necessary, but if you want to check how the program is going to run, at that time you may connect the programming devices to the PLC. Programming devices can be, there are three types of programming devices. The programming devices can be handheld type, okay, or it may be dedicated desktop or a computer, okay, dedicated desktop type, or basically nowadays we are going to use computers or laptops. So second type of device is the dedicated desktop type, and third, which is commonly used nowadays, that is called as the laptops or computers, can be used for programming device. Each of above type of programming devices had its own advantages as well as disadvantages. So basically, if you are going to see what is the dedicated, nowadays this is not used. Okay, so in the early days of the PLC, these dedicated desktops are there. A typical dedicated program consists of keyboard, video display terminals, and necessary electronic circuit and memory developing, editing ladder, loading program into the PLC memory. So if I want to go for the dedicated desktop programmer, the dedicated desktop programmer has a keyboard, then it has a screen, display, and necessary circuits and memory. And say memory for what purpose? For developing the program, for writing the program. And it has the ability that I can it make changes, that editing is possible. Editing is possible means which type of memory? RAM memory is over there. And loading program into the PLC memory. For that purpose, there is a separate circuit. In the appearance, the dedicated programmer resembles the personal computer but does not in capability. Okay, so if you are going to see, the dedicated programmers looks like to the computer but does not have all the capabilities of your personal computers. They are not capable of computing functions like running software programs, for word processing, spreadsheets. Okay, just like on the computer, we can do number of things. We can just install a n number of softwares, just like Microsoft Word is there. Okay, AutoCAD is there, Logosoft is there. But in case of the dedicated terminal, they can be designed to perform only one task, just like the ATM machine. तुम्ही एटीएम मशीन बघितलेली, एटीएम मशीन मध्ये काय फंक्शन असतं, फक्त इट कॅन withdraw the money, or there may passbook printing machine, it will perform only one job. So such type of dedicated desktop terminals are there. They are however rugs in constructions and can withstand the mechanical shock. But if you are going to discuss, their construction is quite different. Okay, they are basically designed for the industrial environments, okay, to withstand the mechanical shock associated with moving the programming machine from machine to machine and all these things. They can design for the industrial environment under high humidity, temperature, dust, electromagnetic interference. Okay, so this is, they have specially designed for that purpose. The keyboard of the dedicated programmers can be like the keyboard of computer but with key rails and have sealed touchpad type keyboard suited for industrial environment. So basically what happened, their keyboard is also different, because in case of industrial environment there may be moisture, there may be two temperatures like a dust is there. So this keyboard is completely sealed. Most dedicated programmer keyboards have electrical symbols keys for NO contact, NC contact, timer contact, output symbols, relay, timer, counter, etc. So if you are going to see the keys of these keyboards, this keyboard keys have certain contacts. Okay, they may be contact type, NC contact, timer contact, output relay. Because basically, what is the language which you are using for programming a PLC? That is a ladder logic, and ladder logic language requires only symbols. Okay, these dedicated keys pertaining to the ladder logic program development makes the programming easier for technicians who are not much familiar with the computers. The keyboard also has a special function keys that are used for program development and numeric and alphanumeric for addressing and labeling of the program. Okay, so they have certain other keys also. What are these? They have program development and numeric alphanumeric keys. Okay, for giving the address and labeling. Okay, video display terminals can have screen size. Now, if you are going to see the video display, what is the screen size of that one? The screen size is nearly 5 to 12 inches measured diagonally. Okay, it may changes from 5 inches to 12 inches. And basically they are going to use the CRTs. as these are used in the old days. So at that time, mostly available technology is the CRT, cathode ray tubes. When the PLC is in the program mode, the program is entered through the programmer keyboard and program appears on the VDT screen as it is entered. So when you once you are going to put the PLC into the program mode, whatever the keys you are going to press on the keyboard, this particular key symbol is going to be appear on the display. The video screen allows the display multiple lines or runs of the program. So what is the advantage of this? This video screen will show you multiple lines or the runs of a program. This makes the entering and editing of program easy. And with this thing, you you can easily enter the program. You can easily make the changes in the program. Editing is also is simple. After completion of the program, it is downloaded from programmer memory to PLC processor memory. And once your program is over, at that time you can download the program from your programmer memory to the PLC memory. Once the program has been into user memory of the PLC, is in place in run mode. And once you have downloaded the program into the PLC memory, we can put the PLC into the run mode and the program is activated. Okay, the program the programmer's VDT, that is the display of the programmer, now gives the visual display of the program execution. The program instructions which are true are highlighted either by making them brighter or by using the reverse video. No matter which method is used, these features of the dedicated programmer is powerful troubleshooting aid. So basically they have the one special features in which if there is true instructions, okay, or instructions which are true instructions are get highlighted. Okay, how you are going to highlight? We are going to make them brighter or you are going to just reverse that video. Okay, so we reverse that video means we are going to change the color of this one. No matter which method is used, so this can be used for troubleshooting purpose. Okay, this is the best troubleshooting method that can be used while programming. The above discussed advantages of dedicated desktop programmers are how ever obtained at relative high cost, but if I want to use this one, the cost of this is quite high. The other disadvantage is that limited model of PLCs can be programmed. We can program only limited models of PLC with the help of particular programmer. It also has limited documentation and graphic capabilities. Okay, so we cannot maintain a documentation and graphics, all these things. The physical size of the programmer makes it unsuitable for portability. If you are going to see the size of this one, it is quite large. Just like all of you have seen that ticket vending machines or you have seen the passport printing machine, so you can see the size and the weight of this one. So it is quite bulky, which is not make it suitable for the portability, which is very much required in the industry, as the PLC installed at various machines are supposed to be programmed using the single programmer. Okay, now after that what comes in the market? So handheld programmer comes in the market, as these are the limitations of your dedicated terminal. First one is it is very costly, second it is not portable. Okay, and it can program only limited number of PLC. So the next and if I want to program make changes into the, I need to carry that particular programmer dedicated terminal to the PLC, or I need to just disconnect all the wires of the PLC and go to their programmer. So it is quite bulky job over there, or quite tedious job. So what happen if you want to make certain small changes, then I can go for the handheld programmer. But handheld programmer resembles to a calculator appearance and it is slightly bigger. Okay, a handheld programmer of Allen Bradley is shown here. This is the Allen Bradley handheld programmer. If you are going to see, it is just like a calculator, but it only displays somewhat more. Handheld programmers are thus smaller, cheaper, and more portable than the dedicated programmer. They are most suitable for installation where the control function have to be changed frequently. But where you can use the handheld computers or programmers, we can use them where the parameters need to be changed frequently. It is also much easier to connect the handheld programmer to the processor for changing the program parameter or for troubleshooting than to bring the heavier desktop programmer. So one of the advantage of this one is that you can easily, as the size is small, so you can easily carry it. Okay, so we can easily carry it to the program PLC. We can make certain changes over there. We can just troubleshoot over there. The main limitation of handheld programmer is that It has the limited display capability. So if you're going to see this screen size of this is very small. The screen size of your video so our dedicated computer is nearly 5 inch to 12 inch, but in case of your handheld programmer it is hardly 3 inch. Okay, so some handheld programmers display a rung of logic with up to 4 horizontal lines. Okay, so in case of this handheld programmer you can see only up to 4 rungs, while the other display only one line and some do not display any rung at all. Okay, so these are certain limitations that we cannot see the program, all the program at once. We can see only few rungs, either one rung, two rung, three rungs, or sometimes they don't show you any particular complete rungs. Okay, the location, so these are the disadvantages of my handheld programmer. Okay, the location of the cursor in the program in such programmer is made out of the LED globe, for which for the type of instructions, and liquid crystal display for its address and run number. Okay, so basically it uses the LCD or LED display. Okay, and for the just showing the cursor position, a LED is there. The handheld programmer takes more time to go through the program. Okay, so basically if I am going to use the handheld programmer, it takes more time to go through the programs, one contact and one run at a time, and also more keystrokes are required to enter the program. So as I'm not getting all the complete runs at a time, so I can just change only one. Okay, and it is not possible for me to check the complete run, check a complete run. I need to again go backward, forward, move up, down, like this one. So it is a time consuming process, it requires more keystrokes, fewer functions are possible, and it works only for specific PLC model. Second is that it can just do certain few functions over there, and it can be used only for some specific model. It cannot be used as generalized. Okay, we cannot use this programmer for all the PLCs. It can be used only for particular specific model. Okay, it has limited access to the memory and also has limited or no documentation capability. Okay, just like it has limited access to the memory, we cannot have the complete access to the memory, and there is no documentation capability. We cannot store the documentation program over there. Now then, after the evolution of these PCs, okay, in late 1960, 70, 80s, okay, so what happened, these laptops and computers are commonly available to each and everyone. So the PLC can now program using the personal computer with the help of the special programming software on PC and special card installed on PC for communication between PLC and PC. Okay, so when the PCs are available, so at that time what you are going to install the software which is compatible for your particular PLC. Remember, all these softwares are proprietary software. Today also most of the software are proprietary. Okay, and it is not possible that you can program all the PLC by using the single software. For Mitsubishi there is a different software, for Siemens there is a different software. For each and every PLC they have used different proprietary software. However, some of the PLC may not require communication card to communicate with the PLC. And in the early days, to maintain their monopoly in the industry, the PLCs must be programmed with the help of specific communication card only. Okay, but nowadays, as we are using the micro USB, Ethernet, and all these things, so most of the PLCs can does not require special communication card. They can be directly programmed by using your Ethernet port, okay, or by using the USB port. PLC programming software have developed by PLC manufacturer themselves and also by other companies. Basically, these softwares, PLC, what are the software we are using for programming the PLC? These are developed by the manufacturer of that PLC only. The software developed by company other than the manufacturer PLC are referred as third party software. ओके, आणि काही वेळेस काय होतं की PLC मॅन्युफॅक्चर कंपनी ते सॉफ्टवेअर बनवत नाही, ते दुसऱ्यांकडनं बनवून घेतं. त्या केसमध्ये त्याला म्हणतात थर्ड पार्टी सॉफ्टवेअर. विथ सॉफ्टवेअर अवेलेबल फॉर ऑल मेजर ब्रँड PLC, द पर्सनल कम्प्युटर हॅज नाव बिकम द मोस्ट पॉप्युलर प्रोग्रामिंग डिव्हाइस. ओके, आज जर बघितलं तर सर्व PLC करता प्रोग्रामिंग करता एक PC किंवा लॅपटॉप तुमचा कॉमनली यूज प्रोग्रामिंग डिव्हाइस आहे. This software program can generally be used with most personal computer in either DOS or Windows environment. And whatever the software that you are going to available in the market, they can be used with the help of DOS, disk operating system, or Windows operating system. For example, Rockwell Automation has developed the Windows-based program called RX Logix 500, which can be used to program Allen Bradley PLC. ओके. ॲलन ब्रॅडलीच्या PLCला जर प्रोग्राम करायचं असेल तर तुम्हाला रॉकवेल ऑटोमेशननी RX लॉजिक्स नावाचं एक सॉफ्टवेअर बनवलेलं आहे. ओके, सो दॅट कॅन बी यूज दॅट इज अ विंडो बेस. SLC 500 and Micrologic 1000, 1500 PLC, etc. Okay, so this can be programmed by using RX Logic. Now we are using Logosoft. We are using Siemens PLC, and for programming the Siemens PLC, we are going to use the Logosoft software. Uh, Programming using a personal computer provides many advantages as compared to the dedicated desktop, but has also provide features not available on most of the dedicated desktop terminals. Okay, the personal computer usually has color monitor. Okay, so whatever the computer we are going to use, it has the color monitor, and the monitor shows multiple runs of the program logic as well as highlight the circuit element to indicate status, just like the dedicated computer program. ओके, याच्यामध्ये तुमचं काय आहे की कलर मॉनिटर यूज होतो, आणि कलर मॉनिटरमध्ये आपण यू कॅन हायलाइट विथ द हेल्प ऑफ डिफरंट कलर्स अँड इंडिकेशन्स just like the dedicated. When the program is first developed, it is done in the programming mode or also offline mode. So when you are going to just develop the program, it can be done into the programming mode or offline mode. Offline mode means program is not is being developed in the RAM of the computer memory and has not yet been loaded into the processor memory. So basically what is going to be happen into this one? So in offline mode, we are going to make the program into the RAM. We have stored the program into the RAM of your computer memory, not into the PLC. Okay, it is not yet loaded into. Once the program is developed and it is downloaded into the processor memory for testing and verification. And once you have developed the program, then you can download it into the PLC for testing purpose and verification. For testing, the PLC is put into the test mode. Now, testing करता काय करतो? We are not going to put the PLC into the run mode. We are going to put the PLC into the test mode. Okay. Program is executed, but the output devices are not energized. In test mode, your program is going to be executed, but physical output devices are not energized. All the physical output devices are unenergized. Only their status indicating LEDs are on. After verifying the proper functioning of the program, once you have verified the proper functioning of the program, the PLC is put into the run mode. If any changes to the program is done while PLC is in run mode, it is called online programming. ओके, जर PLC रनिंग स्टेटमध्ये असताना आपण त्याच्यामध्ये काही चेंजेस करत असेल तर त्याला म्हणतात ऑनलाईन प्रोग्रामिंग. मेकिंग चेंजेस टू द प्रोग्राम while the program is running and driven equipment is operational. Online programming must only be done by trained personnel who not only understand the PLC program but also thoroughly understand the driven machinery and processes. Online programming is not suggested for the beginners. Okay, online programming must be done by the very experienced person, because at that time the machine is in the running state, and if you are going to make certain wrong changes, then that will drastically affect the functioning of your memory. Okay, machinery. To prevent the unauthorized access to the software, most of the software required activation key when the software is turned on. Okay, the activation key can be in the form of hardware key, which is usually connected to one of the printer port of it, or can be in the form of floppy disk, or password may be required when the software is first started. Some manufacturers, however, do no copy protect their software and engage copying and widespread use of their software. Okay, so this is sufficient for today's lecture.